Discover the best in local business news with a subscription to the IBJ and Inside Indiana Business. For a limited time, try us out for just $1 a week for 8 weeks. Claim this limited time offer now at ibj.com/trial offer.
This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for the afternoon of Tuesday, September 9th, 2025. I'm Alex Brown. For the third consecutive month, sentiment among agriculture producers across the United States continued to fall, according to the latest Purdue University CME Group Ag Economy Barometer. Michael Langemeyer with Purdue says producers expressed more worry about the financial expectations for their farms in the coming year.
One of the ways to possibly explain that is, 25 is going to be a low net return for crop producers, and over 2/3 of the people we survey are crop producers. Maybe this is telling us that they don't think this is necessarily going to be just 25, that this is going to continue.
Purdue noted that crop producers expressed much less optimism than their livestock counterparts, as beef cattle operations in particular are experiencing record profitability. Illinois-based real estate investment, management, and development firm Fairlawn is expanding its Indiana student housing portfolio with the acquisition of Fairway Apartments in West Lafayette. Financial terms of the acquisition are not being disclosed, but the company said it is planning a property-wide revitalization. Indiana University this week is reporting growth at both its flagship and satellite campuses, leading to another year of record enrollment numbers for the state's largest university system. According to the school, there are now 89,247 students enrolled at IU campuses, up about 3% from last year's record. From the number one source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Thanks for listening to this IBJ Media podcast. You're probably going to remember this ad. Do you know why? Podcast advertising works. 85% of listeners recalled hearing an ad during a podcast, and 70% of podcast listeners have acted after hearing an ad. So whether you're looking to be heard across the entire IBJ Media Podcast Network, sponsor one of our shows, or just start with a 30-second ad, IBJ Media can help. Contact advertise at ibj.com to learn more.
As WNIN Tri-State Public Media prepares its next budget, the Evansville organization must find a way to solve a $1.5 million shortfall due to state and federal funding cuts. President and CEO Tim Black said the loss of government funding has significantly impacted the station's planning for fiscal year 2026, which starts on October 1st. Black said WNIN, which operates both a radio station and television station, will be able to survive in the short term, but the long-term need will be great if state and federal support is not restored.
We are in a much better situation here than other stations in that we have a fairly healthy reserve account that will certainly take care of us for 1 year. And with some of the budget cuts that we're making right now and planning for the next fiscal year, probably we will be fine for at least 2 years. At that point, we'll have to see some kind of government funding come back into the picture, or it's going to be really tough after a couple of years down the road.
To make up for the funding gap, Black believes WNIN will eventually have to reduce staff, a move PBS recently made by cutting 15% of its jobs. However, the first focus at WNIN will be programming cuts, specifically national shows. About 30 people stood in front of the city-county building on Monday evening chanting, "Go away, Google." Men, women, and children held signs denouncing the tech company's plans to build a massive data center on Indianapolis's South Side. The same crowd cheered later when the 25-member City-County Council voted unanimously to hold a public hearing on September 22nd on the rezoning of 467 acres for Google's project. A bipartisan coalition of 17 councilors has released public statements stating their opposition to the project. Just 15 council votes are needed to override the rezoning. If councilors opt to vote against the rezoning, Google's $1 billion-plus plan for the development would be halted for the near future. U.S. Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy traveled to Indiana and Kentucky on Monday to get a first-hand look at progress on the I-69 Ohio River crossing project. The $1.4 billion effort aims to connect Evansville and Henderson, Kentucky via a new 4-lane bridge over the Ohio River. During a press conference after a helicopter flyover of the construction area, Duffy said a project of this scale is important for more than just the two states involved.
I think this point was very well made. It's important for America. It's important for moving American products from north to south and south to north. And we have to make sure that we find those critical arteries and we make sure we make those investments. And that's what I'm focused on.
While he did not announce any specific federal funding commitments for the project, Duffy said he intends to work with both states to find a pathway to get the project finished. Westfield Mayor Scott Willis is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports, and entertainment, and beyond. Available now on the IBJ Media app or your favorite podcast provider. I'm Alex Brown for Inside Indiana Business Radio on Demand.
Off the Record with Indiana's 250 most influential business and community leaders is a podcast that peels back the curtain on Indiana's most respected leaders, one episode at a time. Go beyond the headlines and hear the stories of grit and innovation that shape these leaders. Do you want to know who's driving our state forward? This is a must listen. Subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcasts or at ibjpodcast.com.
Thanks for listening to this IBJ Media podcast. You're probably going to remember this ad. Do you know why? Podcast advertising works. 85% of listeners recalled hearing an ad during a podcast, and 70% of podcast listeners have acted after hearing an ad. So whether you're looking to be heard across the entire IBJ Media podcast network, sponsor one of our shows, or just start with a 30-second ad, IBJ Media can help. Contact advertise@ibj.com to learn more.